Welcome, Sam.
Hola.
He started the live stream, so
We've got 1 minute before I call it to order.
Yeah.
Martin, could you please open your camera for the meeting?
I'll be right back, Gail.
Okay. We're going to start as soon as my clock says 6. Good evening, welcome. We call the August 18th, 2021 meeting of the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Commission to order. Because the meetings are being currently held remotely, options for comment include submitting by email to public comments at shra.org, where they will be read into the record during the meeting. Comments may also be made by phone by dialing 888-970-1444. To comment during the citizens' comment agenda, please call after the roll call. To comment on a specific agenda item, please call at the beginning of that agenda item. We request that all commissioners and staff participants keep their microphones muted unless they're speaking. And because we're using Zoom, instead of looking around, I will be calling on people for comments, but you can also raise your hand with the feature. With that, welcome back, Vicki. Roll call, please.
Amanpour,
Here.
Boyd, I don't see it. Morgan,
Here.
Nunley,
Here.
Osmany is absent tonight. Ross,
Here.
Schumacher Hodge is also absent. Stajabu,
Here.
Starks, he is here. I saw him. And Commissioner Wu.
Present.
So you do have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Vicki. Citizens' comments. Oh, before citizens' comments, is there any changes or amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda stands as printed. Then with that, we'll move on to citizens' comments. Anyone interested in submitting a public comment to public comments may do so by submitting an email to public comments at shra.org or call in at 888-970-1444. Vicki, could you read our comments paragraph, please?
Certainly. While the Commission welcomes and encourages participation in the Commission meetings, please limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. SHRA provides opportunities for the public to address the Commission at this time in order to listen to opinions regarding non-agendized matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of SHRA. Consistent with the Brown Act, the public comment periods on the agenda are not intended to be question and answer periods or conversations with Commission members. Members of the public with questions are encouraged to contact staff before or after the meeting. Members of the public wishing to provide comment should either email comments to publiccomments@shra.org or present them verbally by calling 888-970-1444.
Thank you. Is there any non-agenda comments?
None at this time.
All right, thank you. So that takes us to the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. Takes us to consent. Approval of the updated records management policy and retention disposition schedule for the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency.
Can I move approval?
Okay. We have a motion. And I'll second. Who seconded it? Daryl. Cecile and Daryl, thank you. Vicky, roll call, please.
Common Core,
Aye.
Boyd,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Nunley,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Sajabu,
Aye.
Starks. I'll mark him as not present to vote, and Wu.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is public hearing, the 2021 mid-year significant changes to the PHA plan, admissions and continued occupancy policy, Acup, and the housing choice voucher administrative plan. I now open the public hearing, and it's available for staff presentation.
Good evening, Chair Morgan and members of the commission. My name is Patricia Simpson, and I am one of the management analysts with Public Housing. This evening, I am presenting the changes to the 2021 PHA plan. We are amending the plan to include adopting the 60% and 40% blend of the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, aka RAD. In January of this year, HUD issued PIH Notice 2021-07, titled Demolition of Public Housing Properties. This notice allowed housing authorities to include a 60%, 40% RAD blend. We would like to exercise our authority to adopt this 60-40 blend, which will allow us to leverage more funding for the RAD project and for the rehabilitation of future RAD projects. The revised 2021 PHA plan incorporates the RAD blend for approval. And tonight we are requesting your authorization to make these changes to the plan, which includes adopting the 60%, 40% RAD blend. Since June 21st, all the documents regarding this request have been available to the public, and no comments have been received. We also consulted with the Resident Advisory Board and received their letter of support. We thank you for your consideration and are available now for any questions or comments.
Questions of commissioners? Seeing Barry? Just movement? Okay.
Sorry, I was adjusting my glasses there, Chairman.
I was glancing back and forth and just saw the motion there. So cool. All right. Is there any public comment?
No, there's not.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to approve?
Thank you, Cecile. Second?
I'll second.
Second from Stajabu. Vicky, roll call, please.
Common Core,
Aye.
Boyd,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Nunley,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Sajabu,
Aye.
Starks, and Wu.
Okay.
Aye.
The public hearing is now closed. Okay, we'll go on to presentations. The first being the update to the Sacramento Emergency Rental Assistance Program.
Communities of low-income families, renters, and communities facing a disparate impact from COVID. Just 1 minute. There we go. There we go. So we started the SHRA program, and you've heard about this before. We have not called it SHRA 1. It wasn't SHRA 1 until we had a SHRA 2. So I'm going to talk about just the beginning part of the program. When we started experiencing the COVID, the coronavirus, local authorities here in the city of Sacramento and the county used Cdbg Community Development Block Grant and Corona Relief Funds from the CARES Act to provide rental assistance to families in need. This was a local determination using local funds. We opened the application period in October and began dispersing funds November and primarily December and January. So you can see we dispersed about over $6 million, and we served over 1,000 families and gave funds to over 700, almost 800 landlords. Then in December, President Trump signed the Consolidation Appropriations Act of 2021, committing $25 billion to help folks with rental assistance. Governor Newsom then signed Senate Bill 91 at the end of January, pledging state funds to help with this also. The funds were made available to jurisdictions throughout the United States, those jurisdictions that have populations of over 200,000 people. Both the city and the county were then the grantees, and they asked SHRA to manage the rental assistance program on their behalf. And this was in large part because of SHRA, the Housing Authority's experience with rental assistance and with the SHRA 1 program. And this was the beginning of SHRA 2. So here you can see that there were $96 million that is available for distribution or disbursement to families in need throughout the city and the county of Sacramento. The application period opened from February 25th to March 19th, and we received almost 13,000 applications. It closed then so we could start processing the applications. Then it reopened on May 11th in May, and remains open. And our plan is not to close it at this point, so it will remain open indefinitely. Since it opened in May, we have received over 6,000 additional applications. So you can see we're approaching 20,000 applications for rental assistance. We worked with 14 different community-based organizations located throughout the city and county of Sacramento to help us do three things. They were working within their communities to get outreach into the communities, and many of these community-based organizations serve non-English speaking communities. So we wanted them to serve not only the geographic areas where they were located, but also those communities that were underserved, in many cases due to a language issue. The second thing we wanted them to do was to help applicants fill out the application. The application is all online, and so folks can use it on their smartphone or computers, and so the CBOs made computers available in their internet. The third thing was, as folks submitted documentation, if we needed some follow-up information, we were looking for the CBOs to partner with us to provide those additional services. So we're working with organizations like Asian Resources, La Familia, the Rose Family Creative Empowerment Center, South County Services, to name a few. So here you can see a summary of where we're at as far as the disbursements of the emergency rental assistance funds. So within the city, we've dispersed over $13 million, in the county over $23 million, for a total of $36 million. You can see of the $36 million, most of that, $33 million, has gone to rent, and that's not surprising. One of the differences between the SHRA 2 program with the federal dollars versus the SHRA 1 program, which was local dollars, is we can also assist with utilities. So if a tenant owes utility assistance or utility bills, we can pay for that. So we are able to pay water, sewer, electric, all of that, including internet. So we have paid over $3 million to utilities, and we're paying the utility company directly. And our largest partner with that is SMUD. So we're working with SMUD, and there's, I think, 46 different utility companies there's like 26 water companies in the county of Sacramento. So we're working to serve them and assist with households that owe rent or utilities. We've assisted over 6,000 households, and the average disbursement for household, you can see when we average the city and the county, is about $5,500. Not very much difference between the city and the county when we look at the average amount of assistance. I'd like to give you some information about the households that are receiving the assistance. So you can see here by family size, largely households of one. The average household size in the city is 2.5 persons in the household. In the county, it's a little bit higher, 2.75. Here you can see how the folks who are receiving assistance are represented based on race. In the city and the county, not very much difference in those charts. Based on ethnicity, again, not very much difference between the city and the county. And by zip codes. Now, here you'll see there's two different colors because we're making a distinction in the zip codes between those areas that encountered a disparate impact from COVID. And that's utilizing a definition, a process actually that the Center for Disease Control has utilized when they're determining which communities are most vulnerable to any disaster, in this case, the coronavirus. So it's evaluating 15 different social factors. For example, socioeconomic status, household composition and disability, minority status and language, housing type, and transportation, for example. But 15 different indicators. And from this, we identified the zip codes that had a disparate impact from COVID, and then we're targeting our marketing areas to those. And you'll see that those in both graphs are the orange ones. So 95823 in the city is one of the areas with a disparate impact, and that's where we have been able to disperse most of our funds. So this helps give us direction as far as our marketing. So 95832, for example, in the city, you can see is the far one on the right. We continue to expand outreach and work with their nonprofit community-based organization partners to do more and more outreach so that we're sure that the communities know that the funds are available. We really want to saturate the community with information so that everybody who needs the assistance is able to apply and get the help they need. So when we moved to implement the SHRA program, as I mentioned, President Trump signed the legislation the end of December, then Governor Newsom signed the state legislation the end of January, and we opened the application period at the end of February. As far as we know, we are the first ones to open the application period. It was really fast. We were able to get going, and this program continues to grow and change. And so when we look at some of the challenges of standing up this program, one of them was we created new software. This was a new program, needed new software. So that was developed quickly. We hired staff and entered into training to get them all on board. Then as you heard in the news too, Senate Bill 91, which was passed at the state level, allowed us to pay 80% of the past rent due for the period, the 12-month period from April 2020 to March 2021, and 25% of the rent for April, May, and June of 2021. Then AB 832, which was signed at the end of June, undid that and said we could pay 100% of the past due rent. So we went back again, changed our software so that we could pay that gap, that 20% that was outstanding to the landlords who had previously accepted 80% and the 75% of the other amount for those 3 months. Initially, when we started the SHRA program, we thought the program was going to go until June 30th, but it actually is continuing beyond. So we continue to pivot and adapt and really make sure that the families in the community that need the help are getting the help they need. So then in March, President Biden signed the American Rescue Act and committed additional funds to the SHRA program. And so on this chart, you can see the funds from ERAP 1, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program 1. It's $101 million that was committed. And then through the American Rescue Act, there was $99 million that was committed. All of this is going to the city and county of Sacramento. So with the new legislation, there were some changes in the program, but by and large, it's the same program. So we are not creating SHRA 3. This is still SHRA 2. with the new funding from the ERAP 2, and you'll see it or you'll hear it in the news, it'll either be called ERA, the Emergency Rental Assistance funding, or it'll say ERAP 2. We call it ERAP here. So you can see here we had $99 million of additional funds, and we're able to disperse about $84 million to the families who are needing it here also. I mentioned there were some minor changes between ERAP 1 and ERAP 2, and I'm going to highlight just a few of those. And these are the most significant changes. One is that for eligibility, you can see it's the same on both sides. There's only 2 words that are different, but that's important. So on both sides, ERAP 1 and 2, at least one household member had to be receiving unemployment or qualified for unemployment, or that they had to have a reduction in income related to COVID. The change was in ERAP 2, 2 words, they had to have a financial hardship during or directly related to COVID. So even if someone had a hardship, but it wasn't directly related to COVID, ERAP 2 is still financing that. So there doesn't have to be a nexus or a connection to the virus. The second change is that in ERAP 1, households could receive a maximum of 15 months of assistance, and in ERAP 2, they could receive up to 18 months, including whatever was assisted in ERAP 1. So there are some families who have received 12 months or 15 months, but really it's not the majority. For ERAP 1, the funds have to be expended by September 30th of 2022. For ERAP 2, we have until September 30th of 2025. See, and we thought this program was going to end in June. So it's continuing on for years. So now that we are in the process of receiving the ERAP 2 funds, we need to go to the city and receive authorization to receive the funds and then to be able to disperse that to the families. And again, this is scheduled for August 24th, which is coming up this Tuesday. We will be going before City Council. As soon as we get the approval, we will be dispersing the funds. And then, as I mentioned, the funds have to be expended by September 30th of 2025. On the county side, we are going forward to Board of Supervisors to get authorization for the same, but that won't be until October 19th, and it just depended on their calendars and timing and so on. We will be dispersing the funds, and again, the funds have to be expended by September 30th of 2025. I have some comments here that we have received back. I'm always surprised when people write in a thank you note, because that just doesn't happen much anymore, but we have a lot of thank yous that I could choose from, and I picked some that I thought were especially telling. There's one in the middle that actually is pretty light, and I'm going to read that one. It says, I just wanted to personally thank you, thank you, thank you. This means the world to me and my husband. Just getting in the documentation and hearing from a live person is fabulous. We are both on unemployment and hopefully we'll be returning to work. Fingers crossed. Again, thank you. I pulled this one out because part of what we did when we were bringing on additional staff is we added 10 people to our newly created, we call it a communication center, our comm center. And so they are answering phones, answering emails, but we really beefed up the number of staff that we have that can actually directly provide services to the folks who are calling in and the landlords. And so this person really appreciated that they were able to call and reach a live person. So that's kudos to our comm center. Also, they're talking about receiving unemployment and looking forward to returning to work. And that's exactly who this program was set up to serve. So you can read the other ones. All people who are touched by the assistance that they're receiving. And we are doing this as staff, but as an extension of the commissioners. So thank you for your support as we continue to bring this forward to you. Know that we are acting on your behalf also. For more information about the program, and we do monthly reports. I don't know if you know that, but if you go to shra.org/SARA and scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, we have monthly reports that we put out. We try and get out by the 15th. We're trying to get it sooner and sooner each month, where we can show who we're serving and that you can track the dollars that are being dispersed and so on. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
I see Martin has his hand up already. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you. What is your name again?
My name is Mary Liz Paulson.
Hi, Mary Liz Paulson, Mrs. Paulson. Hey, great presentation. I'm definitely excited about the SHRA 1 and SHRA 2 program. I like it. I like that it gives funding to people all the way to 2025. And I think that's great. I think it's also great that it's removing barriers for landlords to evict people, well, let's see, yeah, removing those situations where they can evict people for not being able to pay their rent. So I'm excited about that. And I think that's great. One of the things I was looking at, and I also like the outreach. I have some questions and suggestions, but I also like the outreach to the community-based organizations. They're well, connected with the community and getting the word out. I was looking at the dates. So in the last round for SHRA 1, it said over about approximately 1 month, but less than 1 month, about 12,000 applications were received. And now for SHRA 2, there's 6,000 applications received, and that's over 3 months. My question and possibly concern, so I'll just leave it as a question and then I'll express my concerns. Do you think that the need now is just as great as the need at the beginning of SHRA 1 program? Because if it is, the question would be, why only half the number of applicants versus what took place over a month, and it's over 3 months, and I think more and more people might be out of work. So do you think the need is just as great? And then the second question would be, do you think landlords are still trying to evict individuals out of their housing? I hear about that. And if that is the case, if you're agreeing with both of those, then the question would be, because I've also lead and have led several community-based organizations, perhaps there may need to be even more enhanced advertisement, because I'm hearing that the need is just as great or maybe even greater now, because landlords are threatening to evict individuals. If that is the case, then my other question would be, has advertisements outside of the CBOs been actually put directly in individuals' rent bills and other advertisements that are distributed by cities and counties to be able to tell people that directly you can receive assistance for your utilities and your rent? And if it appears in those, maybe we might get a greater response. So some are comments, some are questions. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Good, good. You asked a lot. I'll see if I can touch on all of those. If I missed something, please let me know. So your first question was about the need in the community. It's really hard to know. Our way to evaluate need is the applications that are coming in. When we first opened, we did get a large amount at one time. And I think that was just a reaction to pent-up demand. So once we were able to get through and process those, then the ones that are continuing through are ones who, for the most part, did not apply for the first time. I'm saying that because if they applied and we determined that they were ineligible, sometimes people did a keystroke error. It's all online. And so they have the opportunity to reapply. So we're seeing some of that. So it's hard for me to tell about need. I'll tell you based on traffic coming to work, I think more people are going to work. And so hopefully that's one comment. The other thing is, as we're working with landlords, we're determining that the household is eligible. Then we turn to the landlord and have the landlord verify, one, that there's a tenant, that this is actually a tenant in their property, and two, the amount that's owed. And quite often we hear that that amount was owed when they applied, but it has been paid off since. So we see that. Sometimes we also see the other side where when they applied, they owed $2,000, but that was then, and now they owe $4,000. So that's not a clear answer because we're seeing a little bit of all of that. But I am hopeful that we continue through our marketing to make folks aware of the process. And so that was another question. I'll come back to your question about evictions. So you were asking about marketing. And we have partnered not only with our CBOs, but with the utility companies. And Sam can confirm, but it has been on SMUD's website. They did mailers out to their customers. The city of Sacramento utilities sent it out last month with their billing. So we have the CBOs who are participating in community organizations. They're going in some cases door to door. They are putting information wherever they can in their community. So we've been really tracking and encouraging flags, banners, flyers, wherever. So again, our focus is on really saturating the community so that everybody knows about it in as many languages as we can. We have a meeting actually next Tuesday night where we will be working at one of the community center, the Sims Community Center, and we are partnering with NorCal Resist and Councilmember Guerra's office so that we will be doing a workshop for folks who don't speak English and don't have easy access to computers or smartphones or technology. And we will be doing hands-on assistance so that they can apply directly. So we continue to do things like that in partnership, not only with the 14 CBOs that I mentioned. NorCal Resist is not one of those, but anytime somebody is calling and asking for information, we are more than happy to partner in providing an event or supporting them in their efforts. I met this week with another group who helps us get the word out through the faith communities in that case. So again, we're utilizing every method available to get the word out. And then your last question was about evictions. You know that legally a landlord cannot evict a tenant because of lack of payment of rent right now. The eviction moratorium is in place until the end of September. However, we know that there are landlords who are not necessarily following the rules that they need to. When we hear that that happens, we fast track the applicant so that we can get the assistance to the landlord as soon as possible and prevent that eviction. We also partner with Legal Services of Northern California so that they can be involved and advocate for the tenant also.
Thank you for your, Mrs. Paulson, for that response. It was very comprehensive. I guess my last part is when the utility bills go out, does it also mention that they can receive assistance with rent?
Yes.
Okay, well.
Mentions both.
Well, everybody gets a utility bill.
Right.
So a good chance that they know about it. So I just wanted to get some clarification. So I am glad. That's exciting. So hopefully people will get the response. I was just looking at the differences in the numbers, and there's more months. So I would have thought maybe more people may be applying at this time, but excellent response. And thank you for your report.
Thank you for your questions.
Mm-hmm. Barry, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of questions, Mrs. Paulson. Fantastic information. As per usual, I read everything slow, so I'll go back and watch it again. Multiple meetings going on at the same time. In fact, the Food Security Task Force first convening is going on now that I'd left it. That's why I was a couple of minutes late coming to this one. Anyway, staying in the business of SHRA, kind of going out of order of my questions, but thank you, Commissioner Ross, for your questions. A couple have blended into mine. In regards to the CBOs, I would just like to, you're doing a great job because as we see, the dollars are being spent quickly. So that's a fantastic response. But I would just like to put a couple of more CBOs into your ears that have a wide swath in the 95832 zip code, specifically to what you had mentioned. One being the founder Tim Poole's Hooked on Fishing, Not on Violence. Well-recognized CBO here in the Sacramento region. And secondly, the founder, Henry Hawthorne's Yes, We Can Work It Out organization. It's an entrepreneurial program. In fact, Henry is the president of Hooked on Fishing, Not on Violence. It all works together. Anyway, well-recognized in the 95832 zip code. Now jumping back, well, actually, in regards to zip code, only because I'm not certain, is 95825, is that Carmichael or Del Paso Heights? That zip code, if you happen to know.
Arcade.
That's where I knew it from my FedEx days. I just couldn't pinpoint. I was near. Thank you, Chairman. Two more questions. The amount that, in regards to your slides, it was so far 84 million, I believe, has been allocated, leaving roughly $15 million left. Now that's out of the $99 million total. Out of that $15 million, is any of that already been appropriated to applicants and just not paid out? Or is that $15 million still available for incoming applications that haven't, or applications that haven't been processed?
Okay, so I can explain. So for the 84 million that you're talking about is what is coming to us in the ERAP 2. So that's the second stream of funding. The difference between the 84 and the 99 is administrative funds that go to the state, the city, the county, and SHRA to oversee the program, to manage and implement the program. So of the 99 million, 84 million is going into the accounts for utilities and landlords. It's actual disbursement.
I heard you say that, and it went past me, and then now I just clicked as you were saying it. Sorry for missing the administrative costs. My apologies.
No problem.
Hey, I just think everybody works for free like I do. Kidding. Last question. Hold on, lost my place here. Oh, for the as you mentioned, the 2025 sunset date, as it is as of now, for the program. With that date being so far into the future, is that because there is planned additional funding from both state and federal, or either or, that is being projected to further fatten the pot of the SHRA 2 program?
At this point, I don't know that there's additional funding beyond what we have. I do know, and I've heard, and you probably have heard in the news too, that there may be additional funds going directly to utility companies to help with that. And one of the utility companies I was meeting with this week was hearing that that may not be available until the beginning of 2022. So I don't know that there's additional money for rental assistance today that's planned. But one of the things we're finding with the emergency rental assistance program, as well as all of COVID, is nobody knows what's happening in the future. So we don't know how long the pandemic will last, or how long we will continue to have the economic impacts felt by folks who are struggling to get through. So at this point, that's all that we have.
Fantastic. I was just trying to press you to perhaps maybe you had a crystal ball that we didn't that we don't know about. Actually, here's the last question. The 6.5 million, I believe you said, that is still available as of today for the SHRA, for the program. We'll just say the ERAP.
The ERAP program. Yeah.
Man, these acronyms just get to me. But
all of our alphabet soup. We actually have
Nope.
more than that. So we have the 6.5 million that you're talking about is what we actually expended in 2020 for SHRA 1. So, but for SHRA 2 that we have now, we had the $99 million or $96 million that's available, and we've expended 36 or thereabouts. So we still have funds available. So there is nobody at this point that I can envision not getting help because we ran out of funds. So
Yeah.
we have funds to, at this point, to help whoever is needing it.
Gotcha. Sorry, I couldn't even read my own shorthand. You did answer the question, and it was in your presentation. I'm seeing now SHRA 1 is what my question should have been. At the 6.5 from SHRA 1, was it all dispersed? But
Yeah.
as you just mentioned, it's all cumulative. Never mind. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, the funds for SHRA 1, just to clarify, are one bucket, and all of that is gone. And then we got the federal dollars, and that's what we're spending now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Again, trying to attend too many meetings in the same time, in the same day. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, Emmanuel, you're next.
Yes. So my question was, I mean, you kind of answered it right there. As far as for SHRA 2 and ERAP, that you're currently utilizing those funds. I just wanted to confirm in the PowerPoint, I thought it said that it would begin in September.
Not that it would begin in, we're going to, trying to think what starts in September. So we are going to City Council August 24th, next Tuesday. And then we're going to the County Board of Supervisors October 19th. And once we have approval from both, then we will start expending that ERAP 2 funds. That's new funding that's coming in.
So ERAP is different from SHRA 2 then?
So SHRA 2 is our local program, and SHRA is the Sacramento Emergency Rental Assistance Program. ERAP is the source of funding. That's what's coming from both the feds and the state.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that, because I was trying to really differentiate both of them. And I guess the next question would be, as far as the community-based organizations, is it possible for us to get the list of those community-based organizations?
Sure. So yeah, if you go to the website, and actually, can I go there real fast? Let me just show you how to do it. So if you go to our website, yeah, it's there. Okay, so if you go to our website here, it's shra.org/SHRA. Scroll all the way down. Here, right before apply, it says, do you need help? Click here for a list of organizations. If you click here, it lists all 14 organizations, their contact information, the languages, and the hours, phone numbers, all of that is here.
Great, thank you for that.
Sure.
Second, the next question would be, I noticed that some of the requirements changed compared to what it used to be. I believe you guys said people who are receiving unemployment, that was a change compared to what it was before?
No, that didn't change. The eligibility is the same.
Okay, so nothing really changed with those eligibility lists, right?
As far as the target population, what did change is that they no longer had to have an impact from COVID. So in the past, it was a list of options or choices. How has COVID affected you? You either had increased childcare or increased expenses, whatever. Now you don't have to have that causal relationship. As if you had a problem during the time of COVID, not necessarily related to the virus itself, but if you were having problems with employment during that pandemic, then you're now eligible.
All right, and that's really great because it'll allow more participants to be able to join the program.
Exactly.
And I believe the last question is, there isn't any wait list, is there?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to understand because I was actually promoting the SHRA 2 programs at many places that I've gone to. And some people said they applied to it, but they haven't heard anything back, and they applied, I believe, back in May, and they still hadn't heard back anything. I told them, I mean, I can't really do anything much about it, but I think it'll be helpful. I'm not sure how the communication is with those who are probably still pending a response.
Yeah. So everybody who applied, we have reached out to. They have either gotten a message saying they're not eligible or we've asked for some information. So I would refer folks who say that back to their emails. If they don't respond timely, then we will be sending out notifications saying that they're not eligible because they haven't responded. But remember, our application period is still open. As soon as they get that, they can reapply.
Okay. And while we were talking, I just asked them what the updates were. And you said they should have received some type of update as far as whether or not it was approved or denied or anything, right?
They should receive an email from us. So if they look in their email, the email would come from SHRA, S-E-R-A, at shra.org. So if they do a search in their email for that email address, then there should be something there.
Okay, so they sent me as far as what it looks like, and the statement says this application was submitted and is pending review by the SHRA 2 program. And this was the application that they sent them back in May.
Okay. That means that we're working on it and that's their status. So I would still say if it says pending review, that means that we have sent them something. So have them again, look in their email, but they will have received something from us.
Okay. Thank you. It'll only be sent via email, not via letter, like a formal letter.
Correct.
Thank you.
And if they don't see it, tell them to check their spam folder. That's another option.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions? One of the advantages of being last is everybody asks your questions before they get to you.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is thank you guys for your hard work on this. You guys are, this is, you know, looking at the numbers, you know, people are getting support, people are getting help. You know, it's in the numbers, right? It's the numbers. And when you think about that many people getting assistance, and I'm just going to, you know, share that, you know, we have all these programs at SMUD that provide that assistance to people. And because many of the utility companies and landlords are, you know, there's a stick and then there's the carrot. What is happening? The government is kind of saying no stick, and so it kind of diminishes the incentive for people to take advantage of these programs. But wait until that that moratorium is lifted. Then you're going to see a great rush to programs like SHRA, like our discount programs, like the HEAT programs, Home Energy Assistance Program. All these funds that are out there, people are going to be rushing to it. Right now, they're kind of, and they're not really thinking in terms of the stick. They're thinking in terms of, yeah, you know, but just wait until, you know, we start disconnecting people. Wait until those disconnection notices, those landlords moratoriums go lifted. Things will definitely change. And so this work up front is a big deal, a big deal. One of the things, Lachelle, and I wanted to see if you guys were, if any of the energy assistance numbers, the utility numbers, is that embedded in the overall $99,000 or $99 million? Is that just embedded in there? Is that like the total, or is there a breakout? Have you guys had a chance to break out some of the dollars spent in the utility? And that's the only question I had.
Yeah, the dollars can be used for either one. So we have the flexibility of paying either rent or utilities. So right now, of the $36 million we've dispersed, $33 million has been for rent and $3 million has been for utilities. So,
Okay.
And that's just the way that the applications are coming in. I'll tell you, you'll start to see more utilities paid out as we go forward.
All right. Thank you.
Good.
Vicki, did we get any public comment on this item?
We have not received any comments.
Okay, and there's no vote on this, so thank you very much, Mary Liz.
Thank you. Sure.
This takes us to the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment mid-year budget overview.
So tonight begins a lot of discussion that we will have over the next several meetings regarding the SHRA budget. We're on a calendar year, so this is the time that we come forward and start those discussions. Each meeting we'll have different departments that will do presentations. We start off with our CFO, Susanna Jackson, who is going to talk about first our mid-year, which is about, you know, the current year that we're in. But then our next item coming up will be our revenue trends and projections for next year. And then in following meetings, then we'll have each department heads will start to do their own budget presentations. And then we'll culminate with all of the numbers at the end, and I'll do the final. And this takes us usually several meetings for those of you who have been on the commission kind of know, but we really feel it's very important that we do a deep dive and really talk thoroughly about our budget and the work that goes on in all the departments. So, Susie, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, are you able to share screen?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Alrighty. So good evening, Chair Morgan and Commissioners. I am Susanna Jackson, the Chief Financial Officer for SHRA. And as Lachelle said, I am here to provide you with a very brief 2021 mid-year budget update. So some of you may recall, due to the COVID-19 pandemic last year, our budget process looked a little bit different. We did a roll forward budget, which in short basically meant that we adopted the same revenues as we had in 2020 for 2021. And we just added the anticipated increase in things like PERS and benefits and salary increases. So, excuse me. As you can see from the numbers, our estimates increased significantly due to new programs that were either in process prior to COVID or were a direct result of the pandemic relief funding provided at the federal level, which provided new funding streams to continue to assist those in need in our community. Some of these programs that you just heard of, like such as the rental assistance program, had a significant impact on our agency and its operations. So revenue has so far increased approximately 72%. And this is due to again, from the increased funding from both federal, state, and local sources. One of the main programs implemented was estimated at an additional almost $100 million, which was the, rental assistance program that you just heard about from Mary Liz, as well as the emergency housing vouchers. Additionally, the WX shelter was also something we knew was going to be coming in 2021, and that should be up and running this year. So additional expenses again increased approximately 59% to what was estimated. These expenses are again tied to those sources that were either in process or new sources created due to the pandemic. Again, as the increased voucher cost, as well as emergency housing vouchers, the rental assistance payments that you received the report from Mary Liz. Additionally, again, the WX shelter is obviously with the revenues that came in, it is anticipated to be opened this year, and those expenses will be incurred in 2021. So this concludes this brief presentation, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Questions of commissioners? It was too quick, huh?
Amazing. Good stuff. Revenue, expenses are less than revenue, so who can complain, right? That's always good. Thank you.
That leaves room to pay the in-house costs. Is there any public comment, Vicki?
No, there is not.
All right. Well, that was quick and easy. I like fast budget workshops. So next is the 2022 SHRA budget workshop, revenue trends and projection overview.
So good evening again, Susanna Jackson, Chief Financial Officer. So this is, as Lachelle said, the first of 4 budget workshops that we will be having at the commission meetings. And our final budget will be adopted in October. So as the major funding sources included in tonight's discussion are the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which of course is the federal rental assistance program in which eligible low-income participants are given a voucher to secure rental housing anywhere within the city or county of Sacramento. Rental assistance payments are made directly to the landlord on behalf of the tenant, and they could also use that to port to a different locality. Also, the Public Housing Program, which is the federal rental housing program in which qualified participants are housed in agency-owned property. The agency collects rents from the tenants, and HUD provides an operating subsidy to cover the gap between rents collected and the cost of operations. Also, we will discuss the Public Housing Capital Fund, a federal program tied directly to the Public Housing Program. These grant funds are provided by HUD annually to provide capital improvement funds for the modernization of public housing properties. We will also discuss the federal entitlement programs such as Cdbg and Home and the non-federal housing units in the local housing projects, as well as housing trust funds and agency housing funds. So this chart reflects the HAP revenues, expenses, and lease-up percentages. So as you can see, while our lease-up percentage is about 89% in 2020 and 2021, we are estimating it to be 90% for 2022. Our HAP expenses are higher than previous periods that had a higher percentage of vouchers leased. So this really speaks to the difficulty of the housing market and how expensive it is to actually obtain housing and the cost and value of those vouchers that are out on the street.
Susie, if I could just
Absolutely.
also interject. HAP, we use these acronyms all the time. So HAP is our housing assistance payments that we pay out to the landlord. So just for clarification, these are the funds that we are paying to subsidize our families who are renting on the private rental market. And then also when we're talking about lease up percentage, we're looking at, given the number of vouchers that we have and the dollars that we allocated, what percentage are actually being used or are in use. So we're always looking very closely at those numbers because that gives us an idea of how effective we are being in using the dollars that we're allocated.
So moving on to the Hcv Admin Trends, this chart reflects the trends and estimates for the Hcv administrative funding. The funding the funding eligibility is based upon the number of units leased within the Housing Authority's authorized voucher allocation. So once eligibility is determined, HUD uses a formula to determine administrative fees to the agency. For 2021, the agencies received $100.64 for the first 7,200 vouchers leased for the month and $93.93 on remaining units leased. HUD then applies a proration formula that basically reduces the fees that are admin that we can actually collect. So currently the proration for June through October of 2021 is listed at 82%. For 2022, because of the additional funding provided at the federal level, it is anticipated that the total admin fee will be 100%. There will be no proration. And as you can see from this chart, we had a large increase in 2020, and you will see that going throughout this presentation. And it really is attributed to the CARES Act funding that came in 2020. We've received it in various sources, and I will point those out as we go through. Excuse me. So this chart illustrates the historical revenue trends from the public housing program. So again, in 2020, it was another increased year where we received 21.6 million combined for both city and county. It's almost a $2 million increase funding from the CARES Act alone. As you can see, we do anticipate smaller amounts for 2021 and 2022, mostly due to the decrease in public housing units because of the RAD and Section 18 initiatives we have in the agency.
And this chart is saying Hcv admin fee trend, but it really should be saying public housing.
It doesn't say.
Yeah, it says.
Does it say,
yeah.
It says it on my. Oh, I'm looking and it says public housing on it. Hold on. I think I might have hit.
There. Now it said public.
There we go. There we go.
There we go. Okay. Because I was like, that's not what it's saying.
That was weird. I'm sorry. Thank you. Because I could see it on the other side and it said public housing. So yeah, if that happens again, please tell me.
Mm-hmm. So
okay.
Let's go back one,
yes.
Susie. So, you know, the money that we receive in public housing is a combination of what our residents pay us, their portion of the rent, and then what then HUD pays us, you know, to really somewhat make up the entire amount. So the blue part is what we receive from HUD, and the lightish green is the amount we receive from our residents.
So the Public Housing Capital Fund. So each year, the PHAs receive enough funding to address only about half of their occurring physical needs for the buildings. This slide illustrates the historical funding levels for the agency. So as you can see, in 2020, there was a slight decrease from prior years. This did not receive the CARES Act funding in this particular funding source, while the other funding sources did. So while the federal funding for the housing program should see an overall increase of funds from the things that are happening at the federal level, again, capital fund dollars are tied to the number of units and the properties that we have, and we do anticipate an ongoing decrease as the initiative of RAD continues for the agency. So local housing projects, this reflects the impact again of from 2020. This was not a CARES Act fund that received any additional funding. This is local. So again, you're going to see a decrease from 2021 onward, because this also is affected by the RAD initiatives that we have within the agency. So federal home program. So this was something that we received. Obviously, you see this big increase in 2021. These are the funds that, excuse me, our home program that basically, as you can see, back to 2028, we experienced, or 2018, we experienced a little bit of an increase, but we received an additional 21 million because of the American Rescue Plan. So much like the home program with the federal Cdbg program for both the city and county, we saw an increase in 2020 due to the CARES Act of about $14 million. Moving forward, again, at the federal level, we're hopeful that the spending increase will continue for these much needed programs, and the entitlement funds will hopefully be on an upswing, and that's what we're anticipating through 2022 and hopefully beyond. The Housing Trust Fund are fees collected from non-residential development and are used to fund affordable housing projects that are intended to serve the low-income workforce employed by, excuse me, employed by commercial businesses in the surrounding area. As you can see, the local amounts received from 2012 and 13 in the Housing Trust Fund are much lower than the 2016 numbers, and this was due to a decline in the commercial building permits that were being issued. Part of this market rebounded from 2015 and 2016. This was due to the activity and the continuing payoff of deferred loans, but since 2016, the Housing Trust Fund revenue has steadily declined with modest gains in 2020, and we anticipate the funding to be slightly lower in 2021 and 2022. So the agency housing funds, this chart represents revenues expected to be received on both the city and county side of the housing authorities. Roughly 96% of these expected revenues are committed for payments that are specific to ongoing obligations of the agency. This chart shows the height of funding in 2016, with decreases moving in future years, which is attributable to the decrease of project delivery fees, a reduction of principal payments due on outstanding loans that have been paid off, and the winding down of certain projects. 2019 was slightly higher at approximately 3.3 million due to SHRA court victory against the state of California to consider our PERS and our post-retirement benefits considered to be an obligation that they needed to honor and pay. So 2020 and beyond remains relatively consistent moving forward. So in closing, I want to note that we are still in the process of developing the agency's budget. SHRA's mission of changing lives is always at the forefront when shaping our daily actions, and the budget is no different. In this first of total of 4 budget workshops, we will continue on into October with the final budget presentation set for October 20th. So this concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, questions of commissioners? Everybody's happy. Martin, go ahead.
So regarding the Cdbg funds, I was just curious on that one slide. In 2020, there's just a huge amount, and then before and after it was, large drops. Is that an important source of funding for SHRA? And I know it comes from the federal government, but I was just curious why, if I read the chart correctly, why so much in one period of time and then prior and after it was so much less.
So for several years, the Cdbg program had received cuts. So that was something that was pretty consistent, but it was a program that was identified through the CARES Act for the COVID relief. There were several different awards that came through both the city and county that the federal government has pushed money through. So that's why you saw the sharp increase for 2020.
Okay, so the increase, but then it's back down now for 21 and 20.
Those were they're one-time monies. We anticipate there being an increase, a little slight increase from the norm moving forward, but not necessarily expecting that type of an increase going forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anyone else? Vicki, is there any public comment?
No public comment received.
Okay, and there's no vote on this item, so thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you.
That takes us to the executive director's report.
So again, thank you for your patience as we continue down this budget path. So there'll be a lot more information as the departments come and do their presentations. We'll talk more about the programs.
Can I get you to move your mic just a little bit closer?
Oops, sorry.
We're getting an echo. Thank you.
Okay, how is that? Is that better?
Much better.
Oh, okay, great. I was just saying, thank you for your patience. We'll be walking through more details on our budget and have an opportunity to talk about, the actual programs and how the departments operate and really get into a lot of detail over these next several presentations, which means also too that we will be meeting twice a month. So our next meeting is scheduled for April 1st. Not April. See you in next year now. September 1st will be our next meeting. So, and please, if you have any other comments or anything, especially for our new members, that would be helpful as we go through the presentations. Feel free to just shoot us an email or send something to Vicki or myself and let us know so that we can really be responsive and make sure that you are getting the information that you need.
All right, thank you much. And that microphone thing really helped.
Sorry, yeah. I
went to a training this morning on doing Zoom meetings, and it would not be a Zoom meeting if we didn't say somebody needs to unmute. So For the chair's report, we have nothing for today. So we'll move it on to items and comments of commissioners. And I'll jump at once. Barry, you got your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Executive Director Lachelle. In fact, as I was cracking up at your miscue, I wrote the miscue of April 1st being our next meeting. So anyway, but I actually only comments, information I'd like to give if I'm able. Just one more very viable CBO here in the 95832 zip code is Bobby T. Wooten. She is the founder of Feed Sacramento Homeless. And in addition to feeding the homeless, they also provide clothing and other necessities for homeless women. So again, she has a great swath of outreach here in the 95832.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Boyd.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Lachelle, has someone reached out to you about a rates presentation from SMUD? Have you guys, I know that we're reaching out to organizations to do the dog and pony show, 5 to 7 minutes about the rates. And I'm not sure if they've reached out to you or Vicki yet about an opportunity to, share. And if not, I would love to create that opportunity.
Okay, because I haven't heard anything. Have you, Vicki?
I have not, and I've been checking Lyra's email as well, and I have not seen anything for her.
When's our next? The input time kind of ends August 31st, and I'm afraid that we may miss with this board. We may miss that opportunity because I don't think we're going to have another meeting before the 31st. Correct?
Correct.
No, just September 1st.
So
is that too late?
It might be too late, but as a viable alternative, maybe a presentation. Do you guys have Zoom staff meetings, something like that, where there might be an opportunity to have someone just kind of talk to staff, during a staff meeting, and maybe we can later kind of put our heads together.
Okay.
I think they're trying to get this to the board, our board, before they want to close it down before August 31st. And so if there's an opportunity possibly to talk to staff and, if you guys do your Zoom call, just just an agenda item. So if you guys have a previously organized meeting, all we want to be is an agenda item.
Okay, we'll look to see if we'll have an opportunity to incorporate that in.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Including wedding announcements. I see nothing. We will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Good night.